A couple days ago, I watched The Last Exorcism as I was setting up all of my stuff back here. I have it all set up all around the trailer now. Got Star Wars books and comics and all sorts of shit everywhere in here. This place is loaded with geekdom. But I watched Last Exorcism Part 1 and Part 2 back to back. I was cleaning and doing whatnot, so I wasn't fully paying attention, but I thought I'd just want to talk about them. I did not take any notes or anything, but I know The Last Exorcism 1 very well, and The Last Exorcism Part 2 is a film that's really hated, and I think it's unjustly hated to the degree of which it's hated. I think it's a blah movie, and it's crazy to me that it was written by Damien Chazelle, who has written two of the greatest films of the last decade for me in La La Land and Whiplash. So it's just weird for me to think that he wrote that. I mean, he's wrote other things too, but it's a weird movie that he wrote. It's just really, it just feels unnecessary. It feels uneventful. The acting by Ashley Bell is incredible, as it is in the first movie. I think Ashley Bell is a fucking national treasure. I love the girl. I think she's phenomenal. I think she's absolutely fucking outrageously great as Nell in Part 1. And even Part 2 she's great, but the movie is just so blah and forgettable. It's I don't know, maybe it does deserve the hate it gets, because I personally think the first one is the best found footage horror movie. It's my favorite. I should say my favorite, but there's arguments to be made on your favorite is the best to you. I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think you can have two different ones. I think there is a best and there is your favorite. There's ones that you know is a better movie, the merits of it. Like, I'm not going to sit there when I've heard this argument being made where your favorite is the best. No, I disagree with that. Like, if I sat down and was like, oh, well, Slumber Party Massacre 2 is my favorite horror movie, I'm not going to then argue that I think that it's better than John Carpenter's The Thing, because I know it's not. Even my favorite, because there you go. I think John Carpenter's The Thing is the greatest horror movie ever made, but I don't think, it's not my favorite horror movie. Halloween is. So, you know what I mean? Anyway, all right, moving on. But I do think that I do know that Last Exorcism is my favorite found footage, and I'm a big found footage fan. So I love the first one so damn much, and it's PG-13. That's crazy to me, but it doesn't really need R. I never felt like this film was lacking anything, because I'm mostly going to talk about the first one. The second one, I don't really have anything to talk about, to be completely honest. I just feel like it's so forgettable. Nell, like this, it doesn't really, the way it starts is just kind of almost taking away from how the first one ends, because at the end of the first one, Nell's given birth to this demon thing that's supposed to be part of Abalam, and then in the second one, the baby and all that stuff is not really addressed that much, and then she's like just possessed again, and it just doesn't work. There's no real scares, there's no real tension, there's no real atmosphere to it. It is very blah. I don't know, I guess the way people talk about it, they talk about it like it's such a terrible movie. And I'm just like, it's just a blah movie, which I guess is maybe even worse than a terrible movie. So, I don't know. Maybe it does deserve the hate, but I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel about the second one, but I watched it. Don't have much to say about it, but the first one is such a great film about the test of faith. Now, I'm not religious at all, but I do love the way the film plays with the conventions of an exorcism movie. Like how Cotton is completely against exorcism, and throughout the movie he's trying to prove it to be wrong, that it's bullshit, that's not the typical exorcist that you get in these kinds of movies. And when, like, the best part of the movie to me is when Cotton is exorcising Nell, and it keeps kind of intercutting with him showing the camera how he's doing what he's doing to her, like showing the speaker systems, and he's showing the cross and how he made it steam, and how, like, I love that stuff. Now, how he made the bed shake and rock and stuff like that they wouldn't be able to see, I don't understand that. I don't really care, but it's such a funny sequence. And Cotton and Nell are incredible in this film. Both of them. I think everyone's great. Miss Irene and Caleb and the dad, and all, like, I think everyone is great. Don't get me wrong. But Cotton and Nell steal the show. Like, every fucking thing they do. Cotton is such a charismatic character, and I feel like we should saw way more of this guy. I can't even think of anything else he's done. But he plays this character perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. One of my favorite protagonists in a horror movie of the decade. Of that decade. I think this is 2010. Is that correct? Something like that. So yeah, I would put this easily in the top 100, but shit, man, I don't know where it would rank in the top 100 of the decade, but it'd be real high for me. And that's because of the character of Cotton and Nell. I love Nell. Now, Ashley Bell's like 24 years old in this movie, but she's trying to play a 15-year-old girl, and I think she does a really good job. It does feel like a 15-year-old girl. She feels like a simple backwoods sweetheart that has been sheltered. And just the way this movie builds, the characters, how they're presented, Cotton's reasoning for what he's doing when he's giving his sermons and he's doing the banana bread recipe, and the way he looks at the camera and the way he interviews people, and he asks that chick about the UFO landing site, and then he like kind of looks at her, and there's such a subtlety to his face of like that he's making fun of her and mocking her, but also like kind of trying to be endearing and listen to her. And he's such a sweet, likable guy. And I completely buy that he would have a film crew want to follow him around, and that he could keep the attention of a congregation, that he could run a really, really entertaining sermon. Like, he sells that role so damn well. And then Nell also is like that perfect counterpart, where she's just this sweet, innocent girl that can have this demonic side to her, and that she has the ability to contort her body. The actual actress has the ability, and that is her standing backwards like that, hanging over, and, you know, twisting her neck around and all of that stuff. And the confrontation sequences where he's out in the barn with her, and she's breaking her fingers and all of that, and then she has her blowing job moment and all that. It's so well directed. It's so well acted. I can't say enough good about The Last Exorcism. Like, if you haven't seen this movie, you really, really should do yourself a favor and check it out. Even if you're not a fan of found footage, it just, like, oh man, when he leaves and then she shows up at his hotel room, that shit is so creepy. And then when she grabs the camera and is filming herself, and she's like pulling at her face, and it's like out of focus, and you're like, what the fuck is she doing? And when she's like up on the dresser, and when she's like just standing really quietly in the hallway, and then she just slowly walks away, and then when she starts like drowning that baby, but then they're like hearing double voices, and she's talking to herself, and there's this like really believable baby noise that she's making. And like, I could just go on and on. I mean, every single freaking second of this movie I pretty much love. I have nothing I don't like. All the characters. Caleb, as I'd said, I really like this actor. He's obviously in Get Out. He's had a pretty good career for himself since then. He headlined that antiviral movie and whatnot. Good actor. Do like him. Always like to see him pop up. And yeah, just the way it ends, I'm fine with it. It's typical. It's the typical found footage ending. Like, the cameraman always gets killed, and the camera falls down, and then something happens, and then the credits roll. it's kind of to be expected. Yes, would I have rather that not happen, this and that, maybe a little something different, I don't know. The foreshadowing, oh, this is how we're all gonna die, and the cameraman's freaking out, well, there's a difference between a 15-year-old girl and a 15-year-old psychopath, which I completely agree with him on. Man, just an incredible film, and I can't say it enough. I feel like I'm just sitting here and being redundant at this point, blowing this movie, but it deserves all the praise that it gets, and I don't feel like it gets enough praise. I should say that. But yeah, I'm trying to think of any other everything. Oh, like the woman who works in the church, and she's like, am I gonna be your movie? And they're like, yeah. And she's like, oh, I love it. I like all the secondary characters. Good stuff. Even the acting from the queer kid that works at the diner, and the way he like tries to admit that he's gay, but he can't really get it out because of the place he lives in, and he's like, I don't really like, like I don't like, she's nice and all, like his acting is so good. It's just like a 2-second sequence, but he sells that so hard. I really believe that's a kid who's trying to tell them that he's gay, but he can't get it out, and then when they like say it for him, he's like, yes, but like it's like a relief that they're saying it, but he also feels like, oh, I shouldn't be saying, like, so good. Whoever directed this movie got such fantastic performances out of even the smallest of characters. So wonderful movie. Anyways, guys, I got to go to bed. I've done like 6 fucking reviews in a row, and I am done for. So I will upload all of these in the morning, which when you're watching this, that won't matter to you. But I'm just saying it to myself, speaking out loud at like 2 in the morning, completely fucking loopy. Good night.